Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's live update. I'm Chancellor Plowman, and I can't believe I'm about to say this, but this is the last live update of the semester. The final day of classes is Wednesday. Exams begin on Friday, and then we will be celebrating our very special commencement the next weekend in Neyland Stadium, first time in 100 years. I can't wait. It's hard to believe that we are here. I'm joined as always by Dr. Spencer Gregg from the Student Health Center and by Provost John Zomchik. Before we get started on today's topic, I want to reflect just a little bit on the last year. We have been through so much together. When we came back to campus in August, no one knew what would happen, really. We made plans, we developed new protocols, we established new routines, but there were so many unknowns. That's why we decided to hold these live updates. We weren't sure what decisions would need to be made, but we wanted to be as transparent as possible as we were making them and about how we were making them. I wanted a space where we could talk about the virus, about how to keep ourselves and one another safe, about what the data told us was actually happening on campus and in our community. So every Friday since August, I actually think early on we were doing them twice a week, almost forgotten that. But every Friday since August, we have come together right here to try to make sense of all that was happening around us. We began talking about the importance of wearing a mask and other mitigation strategies. We launched our community testing program, which has been very helpful, a really helpful tool for us to monitor the health of our campus. We talked about the need to be safe as we traveled home for the holidays. We talked about taking care of ourselves, our families, our friends. And finally, we began to talk about vaccines. So now here we are, more than a year after we first encountered COVID-19 in our community, and everyone can get a vaccine. I've had the vaccine. The case counts are going down. We are planning for a fully in-person fall. Through all of it, these live updates have been a way for us to stay connected, not only with each other, but with our broader community. I know parents have been watching these updates because I would hear from some of them. Local reporters have been watching them and sharing what they've learned to the larger public. People in the Knoxville community have been watching them. One thing we've learned through this pandemic is just how connected we all are. Our health is dependent on the health of those around us. What we do on this campus impacts people in our community, and what happens in our community impacts us. As we move forward, I hope we don't lose that sense of connection. I've grown to really love it and appreciate it through these Friday morning live updates. Before we move on, I'm wondering, Dr. Gregg and Dr. Zomchik, if either of you have anything you'd like to add, any reflections on the last year. Let's start with Dr. Gregg.
Good morning, Chancellor and Dr. Zomchik. This has been an incredible year, and I'm so proud of how our campus community continues to step up to the challenge. I've been honored to meet with the two of you and a multitude of others each week on this broadcast to keep everyone aware of our challenges and efforts on campus. We've certainly learned a lot together, and it's been an exciting opportunity.
How about you, Provost Zomchik?
Thank you, Chancellor. Thank you, Dr. Gregg. I couldn't agree more. It's been a real pleasure and privilege to work beside you during this year. You know, I want to take just a minute to reflect on our volunteer community from the academic perspective, if I could, being the Chief Academic Officer here. Yesterday, I had the great privilege of speaking at a pre-graduation ceremony for our first generation college students. And I can't tell you how proud I was to see them all gathered in our student union in the ballroom, socially distanced and still masked, but they were there. And I was filled with pride about how they persisted and how they prevailed over the course of this really challenging year. As I thought about them and as I thought about our volunteer community, I thought again that over and over, we were presented with challenges over the course of the year, things that we had to adapt to. And our students, our faculty, and our staff all embodied the volunteer spirit. They came together, Chancellor, just as you described. They worked together. And now here we are, a few days out from the end of classes of spring semester, a few more days out from spring commencement, and we did it. We're going to be in Neyland Stadium celebrating our students who graduated. And we'll also be thinking about the students who will be welcoming back in the fall for that in-person experience. It's a real tribute to our volunteer community. That includes everyone here, the faculty, the staff, and the students. It's been an honor to sort of work with them and work with you this year to meet these really, really steep challenges that the pandemic has thrown our way.
I couldn't agree with both of you more. I was thinking as you were talking, John, about how in my entire career in higher ed, I don't remember a time, of course, there was no pandemic, but I don't remember any issue or challenge that the entire community came together on. And that has been, while a horrible thing we were having to come together around, it has been inspiring in so many ways and just lights the way for, I think, what we can do as a campus going forward. So thank you both. Before we get into the data, I want to talk a little bit, given this is our last update and things are shifting. I want to talk about how our data updates will shift as we head into the summer. So first, I want to assure everyone that we remain committed to monitoring our COVID-19 data and we're committed to transparency, which is the whole reason we started these live updates and the website. However, with fewer people on campus, we will be making some changes. And by fewer people, I mean fewer students on campus. We will be making some changes beginning May 10th, Monday, May 10th. First, we will shift to once a week updates to the COVID data. We've been updating that almost daily. So we will also make some changes to the actual information that's on the data monitoring page. Let me just share that. So if you'll pay attention and walk through this with me. For the metric summary, the reasons for self-isolation and list of enhanced cleanings, those charts will be removed. And if you'll think through this with me, you'll see why. Cleaning activity will continue, of course, but the CDC guidance on the low risk of surface transmission has led us to decide that a running list of cleanings is no longer needed. That really takes us back to the beginning of this when I think about it, right? It was all about the cleaning. Secondly, the definition of a cluster will change to this. The cluster will be at least 5 connected cases as a result of one event or in one concentrated location. This new definition removes close contacts as a consideration. So let me say it again. The new definition will be at least 5 connected cases as a result of one event or in one concentrated location. This also brings us more in line with other institutions, and it better reflects the intent to list clusters for safety awareness. Third, community saliva testing will end. It ends this week. It ended. Okay, I guess it's over. I want to thank the thousands of students who participated and the staff members, the faculty who conducted the program. It has helped us limit the spread of COVID-19. It has helped us so much. The community saliva testing table and the community saliva testing positivity rate bar chart will be removed, but links to the data will remain on the guide. And lastly, the Student Health Center testing table will also be removed, but again, a link to the data will remain on the guide. Student Health Center test results data on the website will no longer be updated weekly because most students will be away from campus. The Student Health Center will continue to offer COVID-19 testing to students at no cost. So testing continues, but all of the detailed data that we were offering will not continue. So with that out of the way, I want to check in with Dr. Gregg on the status of our vaccination program. Where do things stand, Dr. Gregg?
Chancellor, we're continuing our vaccination efforts on campus and will continue to do so throughout the summer. We've been impressed with the numbers in our community who've elected to get vaccinated. We are now right at 12,000 doses provided. I want to encourage all of our faculty, staff, and students who've not yet been vaccinated to take advantage of the vaccine access that they still have on campus. Last week, with the temporary pause in the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, which many people had specifically been waiting to obtain, we experienced a drop in our vaccine demand, and that was disappointing. As a reminder, the J&J's vaccine use was paused only out of an abundance of caution to permit the CDC and the FDA the opportunity to investigate reports of a rare blood clot in a very small number of recipients. At the time of the pause, the number stood at approximately 7 cases reported out of over 7.3 million doses of the J&J vaccine provided. So a very small number. Today, we hope to hear more from the CDC's Advisory Council on Immunization Practices regarding the possible resumption of the J&J vaccine. But in the interim, we've continued to have vaccine clinics on campus where the Moderna vaccine is being administered. Once we've received the green light from the CDC, we'll again be offering the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, as well as continuing to offer the Moderna vaccine here on campus.
So just to be clear, and if it's repeating ourselves, that's okay. So for anyone who has not had the vaccine yet, how can they get it?
Well, we'll continue to post dates and signups for our vaccine clinics on our COVID website at utk.edu/coronavirus/vaccine, utk.edu/coronavirus/vaccine. So the dates and signups will be listed there. For those who prefer a particular vaccine, each clinic posting will note whether it's a Johnson & Johnson or a Moderna clinic. I also want to remind everyone, all of our campus clinics, including those at the Student Health Center, will now be open to the public, including for faculty, staff, and students. And for those that are not on or near campus, there are multiple vaccine sites in almost every community now as well. Places such as hospitals, some doctors' offices, retail facilities like pharmacies, as well as local public health departments. They're all now supplied with vaccine, and that has greatly expanded access for everyone. Finally, vaccinefinder.org is a great online tool that can be used to assist in finding vaccine in your area. Just go online and in your search engine, type in vaccinefinder.org. We really encourage everyone to get vaccinated as soon as possible.
Thank you so much. So now let's actually turn to the COVID case count and the trends and see what's there. So if you look at the data here, as of this morning, we have 30 active positive COVID-19 cases, 27 are students, and 3 are employees. We now have 78 people in quarantine or self-isolation. And this includes 29 students who live on campus, 35 students who live off campus, and 14 employees. So if we talk about testing, last week we tested more than 2,010 saliva samples from students in pools of 3 to 4 samples. Based on those results, we sent 24 individuals to receive diagnostic testing. Of those who were tested, we identified 4 positive individuals. The overall participation rate for residential students was 34%, and our positivity rate across all samples was 0.2%. So let's look at our metric summary. As a reminder, this table includes indicators that we use to evaluate whether to tighten or ease restrictions. Dr. Gregg, how are things trending in our broader community?
Chancellor, our campus community, as well as that of the greater Knoxville community, have witnessed a steady decline and a relative plateau in case counts and new cases. That's a positive sign. But because we also know that fewer people are now being tested, it can be a misleading sign as well. It's still important to be aware COVID infections are still occurring. We encourage anyone who may have been at risk of recent exposure to someone who's known to be infected to get tested, whether or not they're having symptoms. Of course, that doesn't apply to those who are fully vaccinated and without symptoms. For students who are not fully vaccinated, we're still offering COVID testing through the Student Health Center, and we have plenty of the Everlywell at-home test kits available for students, faculty, and staff to pick up. There are no charges for testing through the Student Health Center, and the turnaround time for results remains at only about 1 to 2 days. So especially for students returning home, if you've not been fully vaccinated, you should really consider getting tested before leaving. I think your family and friends would greatly appreciate that effort. As we're coming down to the finish, I want to encourage everyone to keep up their guard. Remember, continue with mask wearing, social distancing, hand hygiene, and all the other efforts that have been so successful in keeping us safe this semester.
Dr. Greg, thank you so much. I can't even imagine what we would have done without you. And you've certainly made the Friday live updates more fun. And I thank you. And also, Dr. Zomchik, I thank you. You were the leader who helped the faculty see their way to what it was they needed to do. And I'm just so grateful for everyone's leadership. I want to thank everyone who has been tuning in each week. We have persevered through one of the most trying times in modern history, and we've done it together. I don't think there's ever been anything like this in higher education. So I appreciate everyone, how interconnected we've become. I hope everyone finishes this semester strong. To our graduates and our families, I look forward to celebrating with you in Neyland. It's going to be awesome. And to everyone else, I can't wait to be together again, face to face, like we used to do this coming fall. Have a great summer and go Vols.